Part 2.
The Jim and Terry Show 2.0, visiting Canadian politics and asking the question, does the political situation in any country, but we're Canadians so we'll talk about Canada, have to be so angry, so divisive, so attacking?
Well, no, but it doesn't have to be, but it is.
What do you mean, Jim? I'm going to get out of it. And here we go into our, why does it have to sound like that? Why does it have to sound like Pierre Poilievre's speech attacking Trudeau for if he was a chocolate, he'd eat himself? And why did Trudeau have to say whatever he said in return? And what does all of that mean? To me, it's the shenanigans in the House of Commons where adults get to play as children.
It's embarrassing.
In a very expensive place called the House of Commons.
It's embarrassing. We ended our last show with saying that the opposition doesn't have to be opposed to everything you do.
That's right.
But it is now in everything. Nobody can just let anything go. Nobody can say, even in the United States or anything, that is a good idea. I think we could go with that. We'll take it to the Senate, but we can go with that. And in Canada, the same way, you never hear anybody stand up and go, Mr. Prime Minister, the Conservatives, or reverse it if you like. Yep. We, the Liberals, believe that is a great idea that the NDP have brought forward. We're glad that you adopted it, and we want you to know you got our full support so we can push this through in a day.
So our job is to examine the proposals, write the text of the legislation, have it vetted by the Senate and approved, and follow the process, 3 readings in the House, approved by the Senate, back for the final reading. Why can't we say that is a good idea?
Yeah. See, I've always gone by the way.
I said I'd vote for you, Jim.
I know. But I've always gone by the way that both sides really do think they're right and want to do what's right. I don't think there may be an exception with the GOP down in the United States.
And I would argue either the UCP or the Conservative Party of Canada may sometimes err. And that doesn't mean the Liberals and NDP are without flaws and faults too, but when your conservative values impact policy and economic decisions, you are saying something about who you're going to support and where your heart is. And I have trouble seeing how banning books, for instance, is showing me anything good and only restrictions and
well, that's
who you
just
believe is
everybody
bad.
Jumping on the bandwagon, playing to the crowd. To my shame, I see more American politics than I do Canadian.
Fine.
When we get to voting, I'll pay more attention. But down in the United States, I don't believe half the crap that comes out of people's mouths they actually believe. They're just saying what's going to generate money for them. They know
Right.
their
You believe
core
politics is
people.
fundraising.
It has been bought. It has literally been. You got 73 million people that are conservative to the point of following Trump.
Yes.
And they're
not
Trumpites.
just once, but twice,
Yes.
and would vote a third time.
That's right. They're the Trumpites. And so all of these DeSantis, matter of fact, those who are running against Trump for the leadership of the position are almost showing a cowardice of the way in which they're not approaching Trump, where normally you'd be cutting the person to shreds. You can bet Trump will be cutting them to shreds. You can bet on that. But they won't do it because, why? They want to cater to the 73 million people that Trump has in his back pocket.
Do you think there are still that many? That's the number that voted in 2020.
I don't know. I mean, we'll find out, won't we, when eventually it comes around.
Well, I'm looking at the crowds at the New York indictment for the E. Jean Carroll case, and hardly worth looking at. I'm looking at the tape that was around the courthouse in Florida for the documents case, and I'm thinking, there are a few squeaky people, but by and large, nothing to see here, folks.
Unless they're regrouping and recouping and everything else. Apparently there was some chatter with the Proud Boys and that. They're still there. Just because the leader is thrown in jail don't mean that they're not still there.
Of course.
And then there are those who want anarchy. That's what they want. They believe that out of the ashes of anarchy will rise some, wonderful phoenix of delight. Well, there are those.
I'll segue from that into the Diagolon group in Canada that I showed you. I think I sent
Yeah,
you a text.
I'm
and
aware
there was
of
a
them.
map that goes from
Yeah,
Alaska
all the way down to Florida.
diagonally across
Yeah.
the whole of North America, and that's where they get that
Do you
diagonal.
realize that they're on the west side of the tree line? I don't know if that's a wise divide.
Don't know.
They're
either.
going to be water starved in the Midwest.
So the question for me is always, show me who you are by what you vote for. So look at your voting record, look at the policies, and explain to me how that is either good or bad, who it is good or bad for, and then we can weigh out which party, which policies, which leader is good or doing good for Canada. So getting back to that Trudeau thing, lighting fires in Quebec, what about the photographs of Pierre Poilievre meeting with the trucker convoy, bringing coffee and donuts, meeting with the Diagolon leader, and having pictures taken with, and this, I would say they're a terrorist group, domestic terrorists. Their goal is to, if not create the Armageddon that you're speaking of for the end of the world, at least come out the other side as a survival group and be able to set the laws and rule themselves. So show me who you are by your policies and your money, where you're going to spend taxpayers' money. And I'm not sure I see anything good coming out of Pierre Poilievre, outside of some funny jokes maybe in the House of Commons.
About a chocolate eating itself or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been paying all that much attention at this particular point, and I don't know if I ever really will anymore.
No,
I'm
no, you're
discouraged
kind of
at it all.
disengaged from...
But when it comes to any, I promise you, as I'm sitting right here, I could get an organization going. I know exactly how I would do it, and I could do it. I don't want to do it. But you just feed on fear and anger. That's all you do.
Oh, I
so
thought
if
that
you
was the
stand up,
Conservatives or the GOP.
well, anybody, fear and anger, even the left will generate the fear that these people are against people. They're against human beings' rights, and on. The fear is what gets people to join a group. Yeah. Now, that group that wants to split the United States right down from Alaska, does that just carve right through Canada too?
Yeah,
It did, didn't
yes,
it? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what about, we're a sovereign country, you jerk. You know what I mean? Like, quit, you know.
Well, we have a Canadian branch of the Diagolon.
Oh, so there you go. So the Canadian branch making
which
this
strangely
nation.
aligns with the West Exit Group and the Wild Rose Party and all those things that Tamara Leach was involved with the trucker convoy.
I would tell you, there's a certain portion of probably even the leaders in that group that don't believe in any of that crap, but get to speak for $1,000 every weekend
Isn't
to a
that
bunch of
interesting?
people.
Yep.
And that's what you get. You get Green down in the States. She gets to get these. Lord only knows how much they're getting paid to speak at all these functions. So if you come up with anything really bizarre, I mean, I think I said it on a show once before. My wife asked me on the way home, there's a protest down in Aurora there. Could you go to the city center there as a representative? I have no idea why, and I have no idea why I agreed. I went. And the guy came in, and he grabbed a kid and tore up his sign, and I grabbed that guy. I didn't actually grab him. I confronted him and said, you can't do that. I promise you, that day wasn't over, Terry, and I had a phone call. They wanted me to lead something. I said, no, you're misunderstanding. I was actually supporting that guy. I was trying to keep him from going to jail or getting in trouble. But that group, I got a phone call. My house. I never left my number. I got a phone call saying how wonderful and great I was, because I was on the news, standing up to this guy. I was on Channel 9 News. But my point being, this is all it takes. So if my dad said it when I was in the rock band, he said, you want to make it? I said, yes, I want to make it. He says, you go down, block Yonge Street, get a truck, flatbed truck, block Yonge Street, and start performing and get arrested. And he's right.
Probably.
He's right.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
But he was right. That's what the world runs to and grabs onto.
They want, to use the word that's being used.
And Bobby, my brother, will remember that probably.
There's a shout out to Bob who's listening in. The cult leaders. How do they lead? How do you get a cult?
Well, they have secret knowledge usually.
Or they say they do.
Of course they don't.
They just make you believe.
It's
power of persuasion, power of personality, power of bravado, and being larger than life.
Well, who was that guy that took everybody down south and killed them all?
Oh, Jimmy Jones.
Jimmy Jones.
How about David Koresh?
Well, Jimmy Jones.
Why are these guys all Christians?
Well, they're not Christians. They're not Christians.
Well, they would say they are.
Well,
I'm
they're
just using their own words.
Well, you can. That's.
And they preach from the Bible, so I don't know.
Well, but they don't believe
they're
it. They're
definitely not
you
Muslims.
don't go killing everybody. So.
I don't know. Ian Paisley in Ireland supported the IRA.
Jim Jones was a Nazarene.
Yeah.
So,
there you go.
Yeah.
That explains so much.
But he was a cult. It wasn't a Nazarene organization. It was a cult. And what he did, apparently, is he rigged up wine to the sink. And so he miraculously made wine come out of the sink. So they're just all evil people. And they're out there.
Okay, well, that will take us to another discussion of what kind of people are that naive or gullible that they would say Jimmy Jones getting wine from a faucet is a miracle.
I don't know what kind of people would take the Kool-Aid when they went down to the southern nation.
What
but
kind
incidentally,
of people would stay with David Koresh?
In the defense of Christianity, you've got other religions that have their fanatics.
Of course. You've got fanatics everywhere.
Yeah, and they're
my question is, how do you keep from being governed and succumb to the influence of mind-bending claims of truth that are literally bending reality? There's only one reality, one set of facts, and you either got them on your side or you don't.
Well, some people are lonely. They just want to be part of the movement.
What? Some people are lonely. Well, that'll segue into the next podcast, which is going to switch to Beatles, and I'm thinking of the Lonely Hearts Club Band as a segue into AI. And okay, that's all we'll say for now. The Jim and Terry Show, signing off all things political. We haven't solved anything, but we had fun discussing it. Sing it, Jim. Sing it. I light my match and we'll sway in the audience. Bye-bye for now. I'm Terry, signing off.
Bye-bye.